this motherfucker jumping, who gon' take it too far? I'm tryna see who pistol thumping, bullets light up the dark. Every time my body drop, it look like pieces of art. And with this chopper, paint the block up, nigga, call me Bob Ross. Hey, I'm who they wanna be, want me be the old me. New with me, just ride the beat, boy, Jay got the best of me.
Yes, so we're good YouTube, it's your boy, back with another video.
Hey, yo,
man.
Rain,
Back with
turn
a
that up.
salvage from the 6th video, man. Y'all said I had to do Sizzlac if I wanted like some more information as far as like, you know, the stuff that goes on in Toronto and everything like that. The only reason I'm really doing the videos like this, right? I know I did a couple Toronto songs, like, you know, I don't mind that, right? The only reason I'm doing this is because this dude right here will be making these videos. He give me a lot of insight as far as like the Toronto drill scene, rap scene, anything like that, anything that's going on, right? That's why I kind of like doing these videos, because they give me a little bit of insight, bro. They give me a little bit of insight, which I don't mind, bro. They give me a little bit of insight on this shit, right? And it helped me learn more about the Toronto drill, Toronto rap, and everything like that, right? I will be starting to do a lot more Toronto drill, rap, whatever you want to call it, right? I will start doing a lot more of that real soon, right? So don't think I'm just reacting to just this. Like, for right now, this is what I'm doing, right? I did the Hurt of Me, I did some Houdini, I did like 3 Houdini songs already. I did Houdini and the Fallen Rappers. Like, I did some other Toronto stuff, mainly Houdini, and then I did the Hurt of Me with Top 5 and YG, right? If you're new, make sure you subscribe, man. I drop daily content every day except for Wednesdays and Sundays, man. I be looking at, you know, comments and everything like that, and this is one of the comments, man. It was like, you should react to, you know, this, right? I ain't got no problem doing that. Let's go ahead and get right to the video, man. I also will be live on Twitch today. Make sure y'all click that link down below, man. I be going live. Why not, bro? I be going live 3-4 Chicago time. Go ahead, slide through with that, man. Let's go ahead and get right, man.
6 in the 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 6. Me and Fuga niggas don't mix. They calling my name. They calling my name. Why? They know I'm a problem. I'm going insane. I'm loading the gauge. Yep. I might run upon you and give you the business. You know that ain't finished.
It's him? It's him with this saying this devilish shit at the beginning?
My niggas finesse, we up in the Rex. You know that we drilling. Get hit with the mop,
Credit to this dude who be making these videos, though. Credit to him, bro. Cause these good ass videos. I'm not finna cap, bro. He be putting a lot of effort into these videos, I see, bro. So make sure y'all click that link down below for sure, man. And subscribe to the channel. Go check out vids and everything like that, bro.
This is 29-year-old Mustafa Omar, better known as Sizzlac or LV. He's a Toronto rapper, reigning from the Jamestown Rexdale area, and a member of the gang IDS, which stands for In the Streets. Sizzlac was fairly new to the rap game, but despite only releasing a couple tracks, he still managed to build up a head of steam with his singles, What You Know About Me, Where Ya At, Chirac, and most notably, Real.
So LV 2014, 16, 2014, 20. So in 2014 he was going by LV. What made him change his name though?
Singles, What You Know About Me, Where Ya At, Chirac, and most notably, Realist in the 6, receiving over 1 million views on YouTube. He also featured on a track called IDS with fellow members Moolah First, Young Dubs, and Pyrex. Sizzlac had some potential, but with only a few songs put out, it looks like he put more energy into his gang and into the streets rather than his music. This would eventually lead to him not only getting caught up in gang politics and the law, and have some of his actions catch up to him. So today, on Savages from the 6, we'll take a look at Jamestown's Sizzlac. Sizzlac is from a housing complex located on Jamestown Crescent, which is one of the many hoods spread throughout Rexdale, a region in the city that sadly has been plagued by gangs, drugs, homicides, and everything in between. Now what sets Jamestown apart from the other hoods is that most Crip gangs within Rexdale first originated in this complex, before branching out into different splinters. The gang that originally existed was called the Jamestown Crew, before IDS came to be. Sizzlac wasn't just a member of IDS.
You could tell they old as hell. They got on big ass jackets, shirts, everything. That's back in the day for real.
Is actually the founder of the gang. It was created sometime in the early 2010s and shares an alliance with the majority of the other Rexdale Crip gangs. But it was a proven bumpy journey for Sizzlac to get to the point of being able to start a gang. Sizzlac was born in Canada but his background is from Somalia. His parents were part of the influx of migrants from the Caribbean and East Africa that started in the 1960s onwards to the 90s. At the time, people claimed there was tension in Rexdale between Somalians and Jamaicans. Jamaicans migrated to the country and populated Jamestown first, with Somalians following, which sparked problems, as young Jamaican men wanted to control the area under their own terms, and there was also just a clash of culture. It's said that Sizzlac was some sort of revolutionary, starting a movement to bring more power to Somalians in not only Jamestown, but all of Rexdale. Nowadays, you can see that the two groups seem more unified, and gangs consist of both nationalities. This is one of the reasons.
I was gonna say, man, why is it always gotta be just cause of, you know, where you're from, bro? Shit, dumb.
Reasons why Sizzlac was well respected amongst other young men, especially within the Somalian community, and some even labeled him as quote-unquote the most feared Somali in Toronto. Sizzlac and his gang would quickly make themselves known and begin leaving their mark on the city. IDS is the main factor for the high crime rate that Jamestown has seen over the years. Amongst other enemies, one of their biggest foes are the DRIFTWOOD CRIPS, with several shootings and homicides on both sides being linked to this beef. One of the many incidents happened in April of 2015.
So they beef with the Neat brothers and everything, like, that's tough. Oh, so Rexdale, right? This is the same thing that the Rolex Tommy dude. Or was that Regent Park though? I think that's Regent Park. It's not the same place. Not the same. Rexdale and Regent Park is two different places, right? Definitely. Never mind what I said. But I'm pretty sure they beef with the Neat, right? Because it said Neat Gang. I forgot what that WASS stand for. But if they beef with the Neat Gang, wouldn't that technically mean they would have problems with the motherfuckers like with YG and Top 5 of them? Like,
It's alleged IDS members were responsible for a mass shooting that happened on Driftwood Avenue. It's alleged 4 members drove down the street and opened fire from their vehicle, aiming at a crowd that was standing outside of some townhomes. A hail of gunfire hit 5 people, but luckily no one was killed. Police ended up tracking down the 4 alleged IDS members, and they all shared 100 charges, a couple being attempted murder and possession of a firearm with a tampered serial number. It's believed the shooting was gang-related and part of the Jamestown vs. Driftwood beef. One of the suspects convicted in the incident was 32-year-old Clifton Vassell, the same man charged with first-degree murder after shooting and killing 47-year-old Andrew Siraj over a gold chain a year earlier, in October of 2014.
over a gold chain, bro. Your grandma must have gave you that chain or something, bro. 20-year connection. Yeah. Done the chest about both robbery.
Clifton was trying to rob Andrew's friend of his chain outside of a club, but Andrew kept intervening. Clifton allegedly ran back to his car, got his gun, came back and shot Andrew once in his chest, killing him. Clifton was already in jail for the mass shooting on Driftwood.
For a chain though, my nigga.
When he was charged with this murder, and he can be seen in Sizzlac's music video for What You Know About Me. IDS is a ruthless gang, but some members have found themselves on the other end of the gun as well. A popular rapper and fellow member Young Dubs, who Sizzlac had a track with, was shot and killed on a Brampton driveway in May of 2017, the killing seemingly also being tied to a gang feud. Despite which IDS members ended up passing away or being arrested, this group has continuously wreaked havoc around the city, with Rexdale being their stomping grounds. Now before I get more into Sizzlac's past, first we can talk about some of the rumors. Now it can't be confirmed, but it's alleged that he had 5+ bodies. Someone even said he had 6. One user wrote that he killed a few Yardis in the past, referring to Jamaicans. Since there was some sort of Somalian revolution going on at the time in Jamestown, and some tension between the two nationalities, it's not far-fetched to think that things would get bloody at some point. As to whether Sizzlac himself got his hands dirty in the clash, well, only people that are close to him or with some real insider info could tell you. What we do know is that Sizzlac called himself the Molly with the bodies, and this is the kind of reputation and street credit that you need to launch a gang and have people follow behind you. Someone also said he used to be a plug in Rexdale, and considering a post he made on his Instagram of a shoebox filled with bundles of cash, well, he definitely had some sort of lucrative business. Well, to summarize, my research showed me that Sizzlac had a hell of a reputation. With that being said, now let's get into his documented history. His first major run-in with police happened in the early hours of June 6, 2009 in Brampton. Sizzlac was at a crowded house party going on at 8678 Chinguacauzi Road with some of his friends. This gathering of over 100 people was happening at a residence which was reported to have had its fair share of noisy parties. At some point in time, a dispute began between Sizzlac's group and another, which eventually led to close-quarter gunfire inside the home.
That's why I don't fuck with house parties at all, bro. 'Cause if it's time to get out that jam and shit like this happen, everybody panicking, stomping on each other, all type of shit, bro. This is why I don't like going to them. Like, I'll go to a house party here, but I won't go to a lot of house parties. Like, I'm in Chicago. Shit be happening, bro. Like, that's why I ain't really fucking with the house parties like that.
People scrambled for cover and fled the party, trying to escape the shooting. Police and emergency crews quickly swarmed the scene after being alerted that shots were fired in the area. The aftermath, 8 people ended up being shot, 2 of which died. 29-year-old Garth Palmer and 40-year-old Terrence Elliott were both shot multiple times and pronounced dead on the scene. Police didn't have suspects at first, but it was such a massive function with tons of witnesses, so the investigation moved quickly and a name came up. Within a few short weeks, they were able to catch the first of what would be 2 suspects in the shooting. On June 30th, 2009, police had tracked down Mustafa Omar, Sizzlac, to his home, and he was arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Now this is where we come across another rumor that was floating around. This one being that he snitched on his friend. I guess this is a theory, because at first, the police were only looking for 1 suspect, but once Sizzlac was arrested, then they announced that they were looking for another suspect. A YouTube commenter even claims to have seen paperwork, but I couldn't find this paperwork online or any mention of it. It seems like it's just loose gossip without much context, but I still thought I'd quickly address it. I doubt Sizzlac would be able to organize a gang or have the rep that he had if people even had the slightest suspicion that he snitched. But anyways, the police searched for the second suspect, and a few months later, they ended up being successful. On Friday, October 23rd, 2009, the suspect was located and arrested. 21-year-old Justin Bellinger was charged alongside Sizzlac with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Both were formally charged at a court arraignment on the same Friday before being remanded back into custody. Sizzlac and his accomplice would then spend a couple years in jail while they awaited their preliminary hearing. Unbeknownst to them, the police didn't really have a clear picture of what happened at the party. The house was used as an after-hours club and was apparently occupied every weekend, with neighbors calling it a quote-unquote party house. They even had a security guard that frisked people for weapons on entry. The same security guard claims that the guns the suspects used in the murder were elaborately snuck in through a back window of the house. There wasn't any information given about what caused the dispute or if the killings were tied to gangs. Well, it turns out that there wasn't much information about anything at all. Whatever evidence the police had against Sizzlac, it proved to be insufficient because he never ended up going to trial or being indicted for the 2 murder charges. One of them was discharged by a judge in September 2010, and the other one was withdrawn by the Crown in October of 2011. Although Sizzlac did plead guilty to an aggravated assault charge in relation to the same incident and was sentenced to serve 6 months in jail. Adding in the time spent awaiting trial, in total, Sizzlac ended up spending around 2.5 years behind bars. But miraculously,
So he ain't never get his shit. That's tough for y'all to just dismiss it.
in the end, he walked free of both murders. Now, I couldn't find out if the co-accused, Justin...
I mean, I guess that's better than spending your life in there for a long ass time for 2 murders in the first place. So it ain't really no waste. But, damn. You were sitting there for them to just be like, yeah, you're free. You would make it, it'd make it feel like it was a waste.
Bellinger's charges were dropped too, but they likely were because he was a free man a few years down the road, around October of 2016, when he was arrested in an undercover fentanyl drug bust. Since Sizzlac got out virtually unscathed, it's possible Justin's case had the same outcome. Regrettably, he found himself locked up again anyways. As for Sizzlac, beating the case only boosted his recognition in the city. It also seemed to boost his ego, because he gloats about the outcome of his case, with lyrics in his song, What You Know About Me, rapping about how Gucci Mane only caught one body, but he beat a case for two. Sizzlac wasn't charged for the two murders, so technically he was innocent of the crime, but word of mouth seemed to say otherwise, and this hearsay only solidified his existing reputation in Rexdale. About a year later in 2010, he decided to create IDS. So fast forward a bit to 2012 now. It's been a few years since IDS was founded, and they've become an established gang. This is the year Sizzlac made his introduction to YouTube, hopping on the track IDS. He and other members of the gang musically started picking up traction. 2 years later, in 2014, he would release his single What You Know About Me, and do solid numbers. He remained silent for 2 years, before he would release his song with the most notoriety, Realist in the Six, which brings us to our next event in the timeline. On top of the general idea of the song, which is basically claiming he's a realist in the six amongst all others, there's more to it. Now this song turned out to be a diss track, aimed at a couple rival gangs. All throughout the video, members can be seen constantly pointing 3 fingers down, a clear diss to 3L, also known as the Driftwood CRIPS. Sizzlac even goes as far as making the clerk of a store do the gesture too. There are also a few more subtle shots in the video, such as Sizzlac constantly lighting up a cigarette, referring to smoking a pack or smoking an enemy. This is obviously a shot at not only 3L, but any fallen rivals of IDS. These mentioned disses aren't the only ones that seem to exist in this video. In the beginning clips, Sizzlac enters a Chinese restaurant named New Ho King, located in the Spadina and College area. Underneath the surface, this restaurant may have some sort of connection with a Parkdale gang known as HOK, or Heart of a King gang. It's possible that Sizzlac simply being there was a jab at the gang. By Sizzlac smoking in the restaurant, as well as in the alleyway located behind it, he illustrates that he may not only be linked to a fallen HOK member, but that he's also pretty relaxed and comfortable on their turf. New Ho King.
So this nigga went to their turf though? Nigga just chilling in they shit?
King is the same scene where a few HOK members, including their leader, shot and killed 2 innocent men for apparently no reason in January 2016. It was honestly a brutal killing, and I cover this story in January, including their leader. New Ho King is the same scene where a few HOK members, including their leader, shot and killed 2 innocent men for apparently no reason in January 2016. It was honestly a brutal killing, and I cover this story in another video if you're interested. And the restaurant's also the scene of a shooting that happened in 2014, but no one was injured. Sizzlac lounging around New Ho King doesn't seem like the only hint he was trying to diss HOK. Sizzlac can also be seen rapping in front of a gray building, which is coincidentally the same spot another Toronto rapper, Easy Ano, filmed a clip for his music video over 3 years prior, and both shots are framed in a similar way. Easy Ano is an avid member of HOK who doesn't shy away from the fact he can be seen wearing all types of Heart of the King clothing in a variety of his music videos. This building may have been somewhere on HOK's home turf in Parkdale, or in some way related to the gang, because it doesn't seem like Sizzlac put in these similar clips by accident. The link between the restaurant New Ho King and the gang HOK are unclear, as well as the story behind their beef with IDS, but there does seem to be some animosity present between them. Easy Ano and HOK will come up again later in the story. For now, we come back to Sizzlac and the Realist in the Six. So he released it, and this methodically filmed diss track picked up quickly and started buzzing around the city. Not only did your average listener tune in, but also the rivals of Sizzlac, and the people who he intended to address in the song. There's no doubt Sizzlac had some previous beefs connected to IDS, but this song definitely expedited the process of foes trying to take him out. Realist in the Six was on fire, with views steadily climbing, but it wouldn't be long before the heat caught up to him. We now enter the final chapter of the story. It's the spring of 2016. On the morning of April 23rd, police responded to a reported shots fired at 7475 Goreway Drive, a housing complex in the Malton area, not too far from Rexdale. When they arrived, they found 4 victims suffering gunshots. They were all rushed to the hospital, but sad to say, one man was pronounced dead. The man who died was Sizzlac. It's reported that he was shot multiple times.
At a old fool. They was on that nigga head then. They was on that nigga head then, bruh. They said that nigga has to go. That's tough. That's tough.
Neighbors claim they heard gunshots from outside, so the incident didn't take place inside the party. This information seems to coincide with a comment that someone made online, claiming that Sizzlac was ambushed as he left the party, the killers taking advantage of the fact that he was likely under the influence that night. As far as what happened, there really isn't any details on the news reports covering the shooting, giving off the impression that the police didn't really have any leads as to who committed the murder. But obviously with Sizzlac's past, the book was wide open as far as who did it. There is some speculation going around that it was Easy Anal, the same rapper that I mentioned earlier. This loose theory is basically due to the fact that he is part of HOK, and it seemed that he was specifically dissed. Easy Anal hasn't been charged, so this is just still a rumor that's floating around in the air. Related to that matter, to this day, no one has ever been charged with Sizzlac's murder, so it remains open to speculation. If it wasn't Easy Anal or HOK responsible for Sizzlac's killing, then it could have been any number of other IDS rivals. Either way, Realist in the Six definitely pissed some people off, to the point where they wanted Sizzlac dead as soon as possible. The news of his death spread quickly, and a variety of different stations covered it. Some people were surprised, but at the same time, some people weren't. People who knew Sizzlac could quickly link his blatant diss track to his death, and it didn't seem like a coincidence, but probably retaliation. His murder appears to be another victim of an ongoing gang war, and his death contributes to the continuing cycle. Even after Sizzlac passed away, an event that may be linked to him occurred in May of 2020. Rising Toronto artist Houdini was shot and killed in a brazen daylight shooting in the downtown area. Houdini was from Driftwood and part of Wasp Gang / 3L, and arguably the fastest rising artist from the set, which made him a prime target for 3L's long list of enemies. A year earlier, in February of 2019, Houdini featured on a track with YG called Auntie, which contained a few shots at IDS. YG had a bar saying, "I got a Dubs in my backy," referring to young Dubs who was killed, and Houdini's Louis V belt can be seen upside down, some claiming it's disrespect to LV, which was the name that Sizzlac used to go by. Some people think those responsible for Houdini's murder are tied to IDS, but nothing can be proven. Driftwood Crips are known to be one of the most hostile gangs in the city, having too many enemies to count on one hand, so there could be an endless amount of suspects. In conclusion, Sizzlac had an action-packed journey over his years. He started off as some type of revolutionary for mistreated young Somalian men in Jamestown, and brought needed respect to their nationality and culture. It's unfortunate that Sizzlac went from the defensive, battling Jamaicans for his rightful spot in Jamestown, to the offensive, allegedly committing murders, founding gangs, and making diss records. Sizzlac had a long rap sheet, and what's documented on the internet is probably just dipping a toe in his real history. All the acts he committed over the years finally seemed to catch up to him, and Realist in the Six ended up being the last music from Sizzlac. It's evident that he'll be remembered by not only those in Rexdale, but people in the entire city, whether it be in a positive or negative light. Rest in peace to everyone who passed away in this story, including Sizzlac.
IDS, let your girlfriend know, let your dogs know. Seen? Nigga, I put your goons in my pocket. So you better keep your goons in check, B. We do this, Doomstown, Rexdale, IDS, see?
RIP to everybody, bro. You know, I already know I don't care.
Hey, yo, Ran,
about
turn that up.
For real. But nigga was crazy, bro. That nigga was crazy. Like I said, I only do these videos just so I can, you know, get info and insight on everything else like that, right? You know, so I know some background stories and shit. You know, I like to know the backstory first. So I will be getting into some more Toronto rap, Canadian drill, whatever you want to call it. Hope y'all enjoyed the video, man. I'm gonna go ahead and get out. I will be live, like I said, later on. Make sure y'all come slide through, drop a follow, whatever you want to do, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the video. Hope y'all enjoyed, man. Your boy. Out.
Yeah, no, we not lazy, we working. Yeah, used to walk, now we in Porsche. Yeah, I got gelato and sherbet. Yeah, I ran that check up on purpose. Yeah, I got pink Russell Hawaiian. Yeah, keep me in strong like I'm dyking. Yeah.